In this lecture, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of third-party middleware we have in Express. So head over to expressjs.com. On the top, under resources, you can find middleware. So these are all the third-party middleware that you can use in your applications. But that doesn't mean that you should use every single middleware function here, because every middleware function will impact the performance of your application. If you don't need the functionality that comes with a middleware function, don't use it. It's just going to slow down your request processing. So spend some time, have a quick look at this documentation and see what is out there for you in case you need it. Now, in this list, the middleware that is considered best practice is Helmet. So it helps you secure your application by setting various HTTP headers. So let's have a quick look here. Basically, all we have to do is load this Helmet module using our require function. What we get here is a function. So we call that, and that returns a middleware function, and then we'll use that. That's all we have to do. If you want to better understand what Helmet does under the hood, you really need to look at the documentation because that's beyond the scope of this course. So back in the terminal, let's install Helmet. Now here in our index module on the top, we load Helmet, get the result and store it in a constant called Helmet. This is a function, so we're going to call that and pass it to app.use method. So Helmet, like this. The other third-party middleware that you might find useful is Morgan. We use Morgan to log HTTP requests. Let me show you how that works. So once again, npm install Morgan. Now here on top of the file, we load Morgan using the require function. Very simple. And then finally, use it like this. So Morgan is a function. Now here you can specify various formats. I'm going to use the simplest one, that is tiny. Again, you need to look at the documentation to see various options that are available to you. So now, back in the terminal, let's run the application. With Morgan in place, every time we send a request to the server, it will be logged. So here I'm going to send a simple GET request to our courses endpoint. Okay, now look at the terminal. Morgan logged our HTTP request. And this is the tiny format. It's very, very simple. So we sent an HTTP GET request to this endpoint. The result was a status code of 200, which means successful. And this is the time it took to respond to this request. So this is the tiny format. If you want more details, you set a different format. And by the way, by default, Morgan logs the request on the console, but you can also configure it to write it to a log file. Again, remember, when you turn on this feature, it will impact your request processing pipeline. So perhaps you may not want to do this in production, or you may want to enable this only in certain situations. For example, you can have a configuration file. When you deploy this application to the production, in certain situations, you can turn this on for a short period of time and then turn it off. In the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to work with different environments such as development, testing, and production.